Good morning. My name is Bonnie, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the CA Capacity Management Global User Community Webcast. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question-and-answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. I would now like to turn the conference over to Mr. Jim Lundy. Please go ahead, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jim Lundy, the Board President for the Capacity Global User Community. I'd like to welcome everyone aboard here. Hope you'll find today's session valuable for you. This morning, we have Jeremy Rosbach that's going to spend some time on some marketing updates. And then after that, we have Mike Zhang, which will be covering some summer release updates, some CCC VPM service pack updates, some CCR 1.4 and SCOM updates that are really nice, VPM 2.3, and some other time for questions and answers. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining and turn over to Mike, please. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Jim, for the introduction. I just want to advance one page and talk about the agenda. Yeah, I have some so how do I advance page down? No.
Mike, you have the ball right now, so you can click onto your slide.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everyone, depending on where you are. So as Jim mentioned, today's presentation will start with a quick marketing update with Product Marketing Manager Jeremy Rosbach, and John Ashby will join me at the end of the presentation to give a quick product demo. And I'll cover in the middle the main release update for the summer release we just GA'd around September timeframe, and I also gave a sneak preview of the upcoming November release, some of the marquee features. Quick agenda, we talked about that already. And with that, I'll turn to Jeremy. Jeremy, go ahead and talk, let us know what's new on the marketing side with capacity management in the past 3 months.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'll just take a couple minutes and then we'll get to the meat of the presentation here and all the exciting release enhancements that came out this summer and this fall. So real quick, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, CA.com's got a new face, especially the CA.com product page for capacity management. It's really a one-stop shop for demo use cases, collateral, product pages, great webcasts, all the great benefits right at your fingertips for understanding exactly what the capacity management solution from CA can bring you, as well as a second round of updates with more use cases, more webcasts will be added to the page, but just wanted to highlight that, the new face of the capacity management product page on CA.com. And the link is in there, but if you want to hit it real quick, ca.com/capacity will take you right to it. Some other upcoming external marketing collateral and assets and great information around capacity management is going to be uploaded to the page as well, especially a Forrester technology adoption white paper around why customers should be considering capacity management today and what to look for in a capacity management solution. So a great thought leadership white paper that will be available very soon on the new CA.com capacity management page, as well as a video interview with Torsten Volk from EMA around what he loves about CA, the CA capacity management solution, and also, again, why customers should consider capacity management in today's very complex IT environments. And as you can see, some more great demo use cases around the great functionality from CA and its capacity management product with public cloud sizing as well as hypervisor rationalization, which is a big word and tough to say sometimes, but really a lot of customers are considering moving from one hypervisor to the next, maybe for cost concerns and predictively understanding the impact on your applications before doing that is the benefit that the CA capacity management solution brings to the table. And lastly, just to always stay informed, you can check out the daily service assurance blog. I write on that, as well as some other folks from our service assurance delivery department around all the great service assurance products from CA, and Twitter is a great way to stay informed as well around the great benefits and solutions from CA. So with that, Mike, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you all for your time today as well.
All right, thank you, Jeremy, for the great update. Again, a new phase for capacity management on the new CA.com page. Check it out. So let's do a quick recap about the summer release. So we released the CCC VPM 2.2.1 service pack back in September. Here's just a quick overview about some of the key features. Definitely a lot of usability-related enhancement, performance enhancement as well, and a huge update to the component model library, which is the secret sauce of the product behind all the modeling and the analytics. I'm not going to dwell on any item because I have some detailed content for each one of them. First is wildcard support. So as some of the long-time capacity management customer user out there know, the way to define the individual servers for the data source sometimes can be cumbersome. And especially when you have new servers added, you have to go back and change the definition to include them in the data adapter. So this little nice feature, wildcard support, gives you a way to select servers when you define data source quickly using wildcard, include, exclude. Various wildcard support is included with this feature. It not only gives you the real-time information, but it also gives you a way to dynamically include any new servers coming on board later on, as long as it fits the wildcard criteria. So this is a way for you to combine multiple data source definitions together. There used to be a 4,000 character limit for each data source length, and with this wildcard, that limit was lifted as well. So a couple of side benefits along with this wildcard support. Very nice feature, and try it out. There's documentation out there tell you how you can consolidate your existing data source definition using this wildcard support. The second feature we introduced in the service pack is to redesign the VPM placement definition panel. As some of the existing users out there know, the way the VPM placement definition is defined right now is through a single page. There is not a good way to redirect a direct user along the flow. So with the redesigned page, we outlined the placement definition in several highlighted areas. So basically, it's like a wizard guiding users through various stages, and also give users a way to see what's in this placement definition through a quick highlighted summary view. So as you can see on the left side, the placement definition summary view will guide users through various activities, select source, and select target, doing reserve definition, throughput definition, and at the end, it gives you a list of virtual machine templates of your choice. On the right side, you can see a list of screens with much expanded real estate to see the information related for each selection. So all these information are in the service pack right now with the redesigned VPM placement definition panel. Some of the added fields for the placement table gave user additional information on the instance name for the placement. For example, if you are using the multiple instances related to scale out for virtual instance, you will see each individual instances presented in the in the placement table that help you to understand the total number of placements and where they are. And also the columns are rearranged, showing the most important columns without user expand and doing redefinition. So that's some nice improvement as well. Another feature we added to increase usability is CCC Data Manager display head. So a lot of customers have multiple environments, one for their test environment, one for their production environment. Or they maybe have instances of CCC running, cover different regions or different data centers. There is a way for, this is a nice way for the administrators who manage multiple instances to tell which instances they are on without doing backdoor ways of customization. So today, all you need to do is go into Data Manager, global setting, and put in the display header as the configuration parameter. Then it will show up in the respective instance of Capacity Command Center or Data Manager. So it's a nice way for the administrator to manage multiple CCC Data Manager instances. Check it out, a very nice feature. And we also consolidated the Data Manager and the CCC VPM online help. So there used to be a separate place for CCC help and separate place for Data Manager help, depending on which application you're on. So now everything is consolidated, including the topics. It's all cross-linked. So whether you're in CCC or Data Manager, as long as you click on the help button, it will lead you to the single consolidated place with all the topics cross-linked between CCC and Data Manager. So very nice job on the documentation side. Last but not least is on the usability side is performance improvement. So as you can see, the main CCC UI on the left side of the navigation tree, we added the way to lazy load a lot of the group information. So you will notice a nice performance boost when you launch CCC. The response time is improved. The tree, navigation tree, is launched at the first time with everything collapsed. And you have a way to right-click at any top-level tree to either expand or collapse all to help you navigate. So with improved performance, we also give you the better way to navigate through the UI by collapsing or expanding the groups at each individual level. And this is applicable to both the resource score and also under the administration within the server configuration tab. Whenever you see the navigation tree, you can right-click and doing expand or collapse all operations at the top level. And as I mentioned before, a lot of CML updates. We now officially support ESXi 5.1, and we added a lot of individual servers released in the past 6 to 9 months in our component model library. Now let's take a look at the two components we just released 2 weeks ago. One is the Current Capacity Reporter 1.4. and the other is Microsoft SCOM 2.0 Solution Kit. The CCR 1.4 is really a nice update that included all the incremental reports we added in the past 9 to 12 months. It has a nice CCR installer, which helps users to deploy the new incremental reports through an installer instead of copying individual files. So that's a nice addition. Also, it added a set of diagnostic reports related to CCC. It included a set of new reports for APM, Wiley tool, and VMware. And it also added a heat map for business service related reports. So check them out. Once you install 1.4, they should show up in your out-of-the-box report category. For Microsoft SCOM 2.0, the main support we added is hypervisor, Hyper-V support. So we now support both Hyper-V host and including both performance and configuration information, and also Hyper-V VMs. So as folks out there know, we already support Hyper-V as the target hypervisor type. So with this SCOM 2.0 solution kit, you can also collect information from Hyper-V source. So now we officially support end-to-end from source to destination placement and balancing in a Hyper-V environment. As Jeremy mentioned, he put together a very nice blog about hypervisor rationalization. So customers out there are looking at second vendors or different options in their virtualization environment. So this Hyper-V support definitely plays well in that kind of environment and satisfy customers who want to plan out their existing virtualization environment or trying to get from physical to virtual, choose which type of hypervisor the best suit their environment. So a nice feature out there. So that is a quick recap of the summer release. What I'm going to do next is quickly going through two of the marquee features that's in the upcoming November release. Both of them are related to usability and on the UI side. One of the key feedback we got from a lot of existing CCC and VPM users is that some of the information, valuable information, are scattered in different places. It's hard for users to jump through multiple screens to get an overview about their data center efficiency and the placement results. So what we did in this upcoming release is to provide two overviews. One is called CCC Dashboard, and the other is called Placement Results Summary. So through these two, this is a CCC Dashboard. It will be the new launch page of CCC once you get in. As you notice, there used to be a usage and optimization chart on the left, and the default launch screen was usage chart. It's a blank screen that shows you the usage information at the group level, consumption, the capacity over time. What's lacking is some of the detailed information. For example, the asset summary and over time, what's good, what's not good, is not indicated through some of the key performance indicators. So the chart is nice to see, but as a first launch page, it doesn't provide the necessary KPIs on a single page. So what we did is sift through some of the various screens within CCC to pull the KPIs into one centralized location called the dashboard. And this becomes your default launch page depending on your first preferred group. So when you're first launching CCC, it will focus on the first available preferred group within the navigation tree, and it will show you the dashboard by default. It really has three categories of information showing here. First is asset level information. It shows you within this preferred group, how many subgroups do you have, how many clusters do you have, and how many hosts are there in the cluster, and how many VMs, and how many physical servers if you're running physical environment. So it's really a quick asset summary showing you what you have in that group. And then it goes on to show you from 4 dimensions, CPU, memory, network, and storage, what are the overall usage level. So it goes through the baseline interval and trying to give you a quick overview about your CPU utilization. The blue bar shows you the minimum and the maximum, and also shows you the dot, which is your planning percentile for CPU utilization. Same thing for memory utilization. And for network and storage, since we don't have capacity, we only show you the percentile consumption rate for network and storage. Same thing goes for the optimization chart. We'll sift through the whole baseline period and find out what are the underutilized resource and what are the overutilized resource, and try to break things into different categories for you. And we'll not only show you the utilization level for each category, we'll also show you how many servers are contributing to that category. So for example, in this chart, the red shows you there are 3 servers that in over category. That's why it shows 3 here, it's red. And the 3 servers in the over category contribute to around 40% of the total capacity. And the same thing goes with memory. So with this, quickly a customer can see the KPIs related to a specific group. And obviously, when they navigate through different groups, the chart will give them a different summary view. It helps them to gain insights without going through some of the usage and optimization details. So this is the upcoming CCC Dashboard. We're finishing some of the final touch-up of the feature, and you should be able to see that in the November release around middle of November. The second feature is the placement results summary tab. As some of the VPM customers out there know, once you finish placement, the previous choice is you can either go to placement replay or placement table to find out the results. The information is great, but sometimes it's too detail-oriented. Sometimes it's hard to tell or evaluate the benefits of a placement results through the detailed information. You need some kind of high-level summary before you drill down into the detailed placement table. So this placement results tab fill in the gap. After you do a placement, it will show you a quick summary view like what we have on the left. Are there any issues with your placement? For example, it will highlight, given all the parameters you put in to the placement definition, the placement results identified some issues, whether it's host-related, exceeded certain reserves, or it's VM-related, exceeded certain capacity at least once during the placement replay period. And also it shows you, are there any additional resource along different dimensions for the underlying cluster, whether it's CPU, memory, storage, or network. It also shows the cost. It extracts that header information from the placement table and show you in a nice view what's the cost per CPU, what's the cost per CPU resource score, and the total cost in your placement. And the number of hosts needed for this placement, and the change, and a summary of the total virtual machine and their host to VM ratio. So in a nutshell, this KPI-oriented view will help you gain insight into the effectiveness of the placement without going through the placement replay detail. I think with that, I'll turn the presentation to Zhang, who will give you a quick product demo about these highlighted features here. And let me turn the ball over to Zhang. All right, Ashby, you're on. Hey, Zhang, are you out there? Okay. Now we see Ashby's browser.
John, you on mute? He's not on mute. Anybody else hear him, not just me?
I can hear you, Jeremy.
Yeah. John, I don't think we're hearing you. Mary, can we get the operator involved?
The operator is here. I'm showing everyone's line is still connected.
Bonnie, is John Ashby in the participant list?
On the call.
Yep.
His line is open.
I can hear everyone.
All right, John's here.
Now we can hear you. Okay.
Oh,
good.
Man. Okay, good. At least I'm not going crazy. All right. Yeah, apologies for the technical difficulties, but you should be able to see my screen. And what I was planning on doing, I didn't want to spend a tremendous amount of time on CCR, but it is.
Actually, John, I think you didn't share that. Oh, you shared maybe the wrong screen.
1 second here. All right, here we go. Now we should be good.
Here we go. We can see it.
All right. Okay. All right. So, so for those of you who have been consumers of data from Current Capacity Reporter 1.4, we had actually quite a bit of changes, and so one of the first things that you'll notice is that kind of whenever you log in as the admin user, you'll notice that we've got a slightly different layout and kind of the arrangement of the reports and views. And one of the most noticeable changes is a series or set of diagnostic reports, and so I spend a lot of time looking at various instances from our customers, and one of the areas that I wanted to improve the experience is just being able to mine and actually extrapolate data as it relates to the health and the performance. And you'll notice that we have over 30 new reports that will help in just gathering and deciphering this information. Now, if you're a longtime user of Data Manager, you'll know and understand a lot of this information, but being able to understand, various, collection cycles, how are things performing over time? Are they improving? Are we seeing any changes in the or degradation in performance as it relates to stages or migration? Even what was the window of time that was used for a specific interval, including the total metric rows. So what I want to do here real quickly is, let's say, for example, I want to look at a specific data source type. And what we expose now are various data points as far as the max, average, and then minimum number of rows. And sure enough, we can see that for this particular data source, I do in fact have a problem, which is essentially what happens when people change credentials on me without notifying me, and then suddenly I'm not collecting the data that I need. Additionally, we've added time series information to provide you details on the health as it relates to the stage and migration times for your various pulls. And again, a lot of this information is available now, but it has historically been challenging to extrapolate that to show in an easier digestible format such as this time series, so that I can quickly determine am I experiencing issues or problems with a specific data source or potentially even multiple data sources. And we've also gone through and exposed all of the staging and migration logs in a single screen. So now if you wanted to look at specific transactions, you can actually determine if there are any issues, and if they were, what were those problems, in addition to details on the actual load sequence. So we can see here that I didn't really have any issues or problems on this particular source that are of concern to me, or at least for this particular transaction ID. So, and one thing I did want to point out is that all of these reports and the data points contained herein are available to export to via CSV or generation of a URL to various users or consumers of the data. Another area that I always am seeking information on is, so in the evenings we go through a series of roll-ups or aggregations where we'll take raw data points and we'll summarize those at both an hourly and daily level. And one of the most common questions would be, well, do I have data? Are there any gaps? And if so, when and where are they, and we have a series of reports that will surface when and which servers are missing data. So you can see we've got a biweekly, and we also have a monthly summary report that will provide you with details on when and if gaps exist. And you can see that for this particular server that we have specific dates where we're missing data and information. So a lot of these views, the intention is to help reduce the mean time to resolution for any type of troubleshooting or just mining various data points relative to the health and continuance of data collection, data schedules, as well as our nightly roll-up processes that occur. We've also added a series of reports that will help you determine how, when, and also the timings for the various roll-up processes. So I can get the detail on each individual process that consists of our roll-up jobs, as well as high-level summaries to make sure that they completed, and if there are any errors, we'll expose that so you can determine if we need to look at re-rolling a period of time back up, or if we can continue with our regular collection schedules and aggregation periods. So again, really, a lot of these are the intent is to ensure that we are allowing you to see what's going on in a much quicker period of time. For those of you that are familiar with the configuration process within CCC, I've also added a series of reports that will tell you the make and model of the server, so that as you're going through and validating your servers that will process data for our resource score, and also kind of what we termed TPP, I've added various views that will help the user go through that process much quicker. One of the additions that we made with the VMware adapter is that, or also with CCC and Data Manager in general, is that we now pick up inactive entities. And so what I mean by, what's inferred by inactive entities is, as a user creates and destroys objects like VMs and servers and clusters, we will pick up those events and no longer factor those systems or servers into our resource calculations. And so what I've done is I've provided a view that actually will tell you all of the entities that we're showing as inactive, the entity type, so whether it's a cluster or VM, and then what I've also done is I've created this view in the exact format that Data Manager is expecting, so that if there are errors and you wanted to correct, or if you're looking to add additional servers that you would like to retire so that they no longer show up in reports, you can export this as a CSV. You can add the servers that you would like to incorporate into this list, and you can do so relatively easily. So as we were building these reports out, I wanted to keep in mind the user and how we could create a better overall user experience. Another modification in our reports is within CCC, we create a series of groups. So in this particular instance, we can see all of the various groups that we show from a CCC perspective. And previously, while this capability was enabled, we didn't exploit it as much as we could have. And so one of the major changes that you'll see with CCR 1.4 is that now within your CCR instance, all of the groups that are present will persist within CCR, so that if you wanted to modify and adjust reports, it will take into consideration the group that you have selected. So in effect, more or less all of our reports are now business service aware. And so that's been a modification or change so that the views reflect these groups as they exist in your infrastructure today. So I'll touch on just a couple more, and then we'll get to some of the CCC additions and futures, and then kind of wrap up from there. So one of the last reports I guess that I did want to cover is that we've added a series of heat map reports. And again, these are all business service aware. So what I have here is I've selected an SAP group for these particular views. And what we'll provide is time series consumption information over a 30-day period. So what I can see here is that all of the servers that are associated to this SAP instance, and you can see not only the utilization range and the date that it falls within, but we'll also see what our utilization values are for the interval, in addition to surfacing the number of intervals where we experienced a breach. And you can see that it tells a very different story between CPU and memory, but again, surfacing a lot of the rich data and that's available from within Data Manager. And again, all of these views are customizable. You can adjust them to reflect any or all business service groups, as well as being able to incorporate time series changes into these views. So I will pause here for just 1 second, and let me transition here to CCC, and we'll kind of walk through some of the dashboard additions, in addition to the changes to our placement definition tables and results. All right, so one of the major modifications is that now, historically, when you logged into CCC, what you would see is the initial landing page was reflective of our usage charts. And what we wanted to do was provide a higher level view of the various groups that are available within CCC and provide a little bit higher level information as it relates to all of the assets. And what you can see is that as I tab between my groups, I will see not only our totals change as far as the counts. So we're going to show the number of subgroups, the number of clusters, total hosts, virtual machines, and then actually the physical bare metal systems that are inclusive in that group. But what you'll see is that the utilization value, so both our planning percentile, which is what you can see here for CPU and memory for this particular baseline interval, but we'll also show what our swing is for this particular group during that period of time. So we can see that the fluctuation in CPU ranges from below to just over 25%, and we can also see memory here. We see a much wider variety as far as the values that we're seeing for this particular group. In addition to surfacing these utilization values, we're also taking our normalization process into account here by showing the percentage of resources that fall within a respective utilization range. So what we can see here is our over, cautionary, good, and under categories. And we can see both the percentage of resources that fall within each category, but also we can see the actual count for those servers. And for those of you that are looking, you might notice that there is a differentiation in delta in the total server count and what we're seeing here. But just note that there are going to be some changes. So if my mathematicians on the phone, if you're questioning my numbers right now, so we're on it. This is kind of we're going through some final iterations, so just wanted to point that out. But we can show both the percentage of resources as well as the count at this high-level dashboard. And again, all of our usage and optimization charts are still available, but we'll be able to provide a higher-level view, which I'm definitely looking forward to, and I think it'll add to the usability and richness as it relates to the data for the various groups. All right. So what I'll do now is transition here to Virtual Placement Manager, and Mike had covered this earlier, but you can see that there's a pretty healthy change in the aesthetic of not only our placement definition section, but also we've added a results summary. And so one of the modifications that you'll see in just the structure is you have the ability to navigate to the various stages in your model, and will also notify the user of when and if there are issues. So we can see here that, you know, I have a problem with this particular placement because I don't have any templates selected. And so if I come in here and if I answer, you know, all of the parameters of the model correctly, you'll see that now I have a summation of everything that's selected. So for this particular placement, I've chosen to perform a place and balance, which means I want to take and add resources to an existing set of infrastructure where I've selected a total of 25 virtual machines, and you can see that I selected an existing cluster that just so happens to be an ESXi 5.0. We'll surface what the selected reserve capacities for both our CPU, memory, network, and storage, as well as surface the summation on our thresholds that we've designated here, and then provide details on, you know, what have we selected to allow assets to move around? Yes, we have. Do we want to right size? And yes. And then also you can see here that I've chosen to, if I can't meet my resource requirements, I want to scale this with a Cisco UCS B200 model, as well as a summation of all of the virtual machine templates that have been designated in use for this particular placement. So, and I've kind of solved this, but as the page for summation, once your results are complete, what we'll provide now is a summary of the placement as a whole. So you can see here that I actually have 60 VMs that are exceeding capacity. So essentially that means what I need to do is I would want to go back in and adjust some of the templates that I have selected. But what we'll also provide now is are the totals at the group or aggregate, or in this case the cluster headroom, and the percentage of resources that are remaining, taking into account our reserve capacity. So we can see that my limiting factor for this particular placement here just so happened to be memory, which I can tell that I have a 12% remaining capacity before, you know, I'd need to look at adding additional memory resources or potentially adding an additional host to accommodate. So, and we've also provided a summation on the cost, and these costs are actually derived from values that the user would input and use as their virtual machine templates. So those are the approved configurations that we can place into for a given placement exercise, and we'll surface our per vCPU, gigabyte of memory, and then we also have a cost per resource score unit that we surface in this view as well. And as a part of the summation, you'll get a total on the number of hosts that were required in total, as well as the differentiation or change. So we can see that for this particular placement exercise, I had a total of 14 hosts, and you can see that we needed an additional 6 hosts in order to support this particular placement exercise. We'll also provide information on the number of chips, so this would be the physical processors required, the actual memory required, in addition to the total vCPUs, virtual machines, virtual memory, and so we can actually see here that I had a reduction in my my memory requirement, and then we can get a tally on the host to VM ratio to determine how effective we are for this particular cluster, and then we'll also receive information on the placement as a whole and see the total new, how many planned. So for this particular exercise, I didn't have any hypothetical or planned workloads, and then I'll get a summation on the total assets that were moved as well as the total assets that were resized. So a lot of really good information to just help summarize the results and output of a given placement exercise or model. And again, we still have and provide our placement replay chart, which is our graphical representation for this particular exercise, in addition to providing the tabular output, or what we reference as the placement table, where all of the underlying information is made available. And we can see here that, if you recall correctly, we had 60 VMs where we were seeing issues, and in our placement table we can distinguish the actual instance where we saw issue for the various virtual machines that made up or consisted for this particular placement exercise and activity. So again, what you'll notice is that a lot of the additions that are being made are higher level summations for the activities that are occurring, both from a reporting and usage perspective, but also from an analytics view as you go through and complete your placement summary, be able to provide information on the effective output and results of those placement or placement activities. All right, so from a demonstration perspective, that's what I wanted to cover here today. Did we want to open up Q&A?
Yep, that's the next section. Thank you very much, Zhang, for the great demonstration. It's always good to see working code than PowerPoint. So at this time, as I said, we're very close to the release of the 2.3. What you have seen right now is what we have just released, 1.4 CCR report, and the upcoming 2.3 release. Some of the features you have it in the service pack already, like the placement definition summary, the 2 marquee features, the CCC Dashboard, and this placement results view will come out in the November release. I think with that, we'll open it up for questions. Mary, do we need to unmute all the lines, or the attendees can raise questions? You can either type in the question in the chat or answer the question live.
Bonnie, if you can open up the lines, please.
As a reminder, to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster. Our first question comes from Davis Y.
Hi, everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Good. I can hear you, David.
Okay, hi, this is Davis from Morgan Stanley. Thank you for the presentation, that's great. The only question I have is regarding the groups you have in the dashboard view. So as a user perspective, currently we don't have a choice of how can we select the groups. So in the new release, is it possible for us to customize the groups in the way whatever we want to do, or you have specific rules to do that?
Great question, and the short answer is the only limitation on groups is your organization or your imagination. And if it's by geographic region, if it's by business service or application, absolutely. You can customize and adjust the structure and the layout of the groups, the number of levels, all of that. So yes, it is customizable, and you can incorporate your own general grouping structure into both CCC as well as CCR.
Okay,
good question.
So if I change the groups in CCC, CCR will automatically pick up the groups, right?
That is correct. So yes, so we have there's a nightly job that occurs where we'll synchronize so that if, let's say, for example, you add new groups or remove groups, and then also if certain systems change membership, we'll pick up all of those change events and synchronize between the two so that the views are consistent between the two tools. So yes.
Okay, and you can have subgroups in the groups. Is it correct?
Absolutely. So you can see here, let me just, you should be able to see I've kind of got my SAP and my Exchange, which is an internal application here. You'll see that for SAP, I've got 3 levels. Here, I've actually got the primary. I've got a second level, which would be my app, database, web, and then here I've kind of got the web server specifically. But if I were to look at, let's say, like a virtual infrastructure, you'll note that I've got a number of additional levels. So I've got, let's see here, this is a data center. This is a hypervisor version type. This is a cluster. We can go all the way down to, like a host, so you can show the individual VMs. But really, your grouping structure is however you want to arrange that, because one of the challenges that I see and that I'm sure you deal with is that everybody wants to look at their data slightly different. Some people care about infrastructure. Other people don't care at all. They just want to know about business service. So you kind of have to accommodate. But yes, you can do and slice and dice the groupings any way that you want.
Okay, but you can only go down to 3 levels, right?
No, you can go to well, I know for a fact that I can go to 12. I've never gone I have not gone further than that because, by that time I'm just being OCD, beyond 12. But that's really up to you as well. So there's not a limitation per se on the levels as far as any given group tree.
Okay. So, sorry to ask, but is it easy to add the new groups, or do we need to change the code or any settings? Was it?
So there is a configuration XML file example that is included with every core install,
Okay.
And it has. I think we've got a total of 4 different flavors. We've got it by region, we've got it by data center, and we've got it by business service. And so if you wanted to modify that, you can adjust that and add additional layers. And really all you have to do is follow the structure of that XML file. So they're not code changes to the product. It's just updates or modifications to an XML file to incorporate your group structure. While I would like to say it is very super simple and easy, I guess I'm a little jaded because I've had a moderate amount of exposure, but 10, 15 minutes review will probably cover you, and you'll be able to build a grouping DA relatively easily. So
okay, that's good.
Yeah.
My last question is, can we just update this new release by ourselves, or was it? Is it just download and install? How this new release will be? So
now again, I'm jaded, and I'm very lucky that I work with some of the most talented developers. And the install process and upgrade from 2.0 to 1 is very straightforward. And we have enough logic in the installer to ensure that we have enough space so that we don't get 2/3 of the way through and determine how we don't have enough space. But the upgrade itself is relatively straightforward. I don't know if there's a high degree of customization in your instance where that would need to be taken into consideration, but I would feel confident with almost any practitioner of our tool going through an upgrade to the latest and greatest.
Okay, so it's available online right now for downloading, right?
So just to make sure we're on the same page, what we just covered here kind of with the dashboard, this is actually 2.3, which I'll let Mike comment on the GA date, but 2.2.1 is available now, which includes the wildcard features and various performance enhancements and improvements. But what we're seeing right here, that will be made available in the imminent future, and I'll turn that over to Mike to answer that question.
Okay. Yeah, so David, we presented two chunks. The summer release, which includes the service pack, is available through the support.ca site. You can download and install. And I would recommend you to get it. You're from Morgan Stanley, and I know you're a big account. So I wouldn't trivialize the upgrade process, but it should be straightforward. But I do encourage you to reach out to your service folks through the account team. At least plan it, have some coverage in case you have unexpected results. For the 2.3 release with the new CCC Dashboard and placement results summary, it will GA according to the current plan around mid of November. Right now, everything looks good, but I'm not saying that will be released by a certain date. But the target right now is mid of November. So if you plan for something, I would say wait for 2 weeks. You should have a new release, and you only need to deploy it once.
Awesome, that's good. Thank you so much.
No problem. You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Noah Munt.
Hey, Noah.
Hello, this is Noah with JP Morgan. The question's around time filtering. So as I'm looking at this dashboard, is that respective of all the data that's in Data Manager, or is there a filter that's applied here?
A very good question, Noah. The intention is to gradually add time filtering in it, but I know where your question came from. So the hourly filter is not in here yet. The dashboard today shows the baseline, the whole baseline period data by default. So as John Ashby showing here, if you see the usage chart, optimization chart, the data behind it is the whole baseline period, which by default is 9 months. I'm sorry, 3 months, 90 days.
Okay, do you guys see adding filtering where you could remove weekends or evenings?
Absolutely, yes. We could, and I was going to say that we probably want to take that one offline, but yes, I do know that that's something that we're looking into to incorporate in.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah.
At this time, there are no further questions.
All right, I turn it back to Jim. If you, I think this is good participation. Again, thanks, Jim, for being the chairman of the board. I do want to encourage everyone to get on the community website. We try to post and keep the communication going, even outside the quarterly webcast. But I'll let Jim to talk about whether he has any other idea about encourage community activity.
Hello, everyone. Jim Lundy. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us and for Jeremy, Mike, and John for the content and everything. But I'd like to remind you that this coming weekend, the communities pages across the board is going to be down for a really nice enhancement that I think you all will really like. But do check it out and give me a link or contact if you have any suggestions. Thanks a lot for joining.
Thanks, everybody.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.